Hello, everybody. This is the Chocolate News Podcast. I'm your co host, John Alexander Reese.
And I'm your co-host, Andria Carter.
And if you didn't know, the Cincinnati Herald has been around since 1955 and is the leading African American owned newspaper in the greater Cincinnati area and northern Kentucky area. So, how's it going, Andrea?
It's going fine. It's going very, very well.
So, what's the chocolate news of the week, Andrea?
It's the chocolate news this week is on a big high in one way, but really a low, but hopeful, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I would say we'll start with the low. The Bengals lost
unfortunately,
by field goal, unfortunately.
it
It
hurts.
was it, it was a good game. They started out slow, then they came back and tied and took control of the game. And then mistakes on both sides with the Chiefs and with the Bengals. It still remained tied into the last few seconds. And then that awful mistake made by Ossie.
Yeah, Joseph Ossie. I think that's how you pronounce his name.
Ossie, yes. That it can happen to anybody. It can happen. You just don't want to happen when it costs you the game. But
Yeah,
that you know what, but that's okay.
yeah.
That just means that who we saw performing this year, we need to see next year, and we'll make it to the Super Bowl, and next time we'll go all the way. So good
Yeah.
luck about that.
But you know what? I'm proud of the Bengals though, because it was a good game. It wasn't like the NFC championship game where the Eagles just dominated against the 49ers. So, at least they were in the running. At least it wasn't like at least it wasn't like completely one-sided. Heartbreaking, but you know what? We'll be back next year.
But what I liked the most was the fact that the defense and the offense held the Chiefs. I didn't like it when Joe Burrow was getting sacked so many times.
Yeah.
And I think the extra aggressiveness of the Chiefs threw everybody for a minute. But I think once they shook it off, they came back with a vengeance and they started getting everybody else.
Right.
So I think it's a mindset. I think it's something that they'll like, okay, we got next year and, let's work harder. Let's keep that mindset. And next time, don't talk as much trash as he did. So, it's going to happen, but don't poke too much that, stuff happens. But that's okay. We got next year.
Yeah.
We also got FC Cincinnati's getting ready to start. The Reds are about to start practice in another month. Hopefully the Reds will do something. We got FC Cincinnati, and then we'll look forward to, midsummer practice again and go from there. So, it's a nice endless cycle of our sports world.
Yeah.
And we still got March Madness to look forward to.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that should be exciting.
Yes. Well, so we'll see what happens. So, but I would say also, even though we've had heartbreak over the Bengals, I think the bigger woof woof that we can go for is Tom Brady finally said he is retiring again.
Yeah, sure.
I think the old man finally admitted he's an old man.
I mean, that's kind of sad though when 45 is considered an old man, where like in any other like industry, it's like you're still in the middle of your life, but in football,
I would say in sports, he's considered old.
Yeah, which is a shame,
he's still
but
a
it's the
young guy.
reality.
It's reality, but I think also he had somewhat year, and on top of that, he lost his family.
Yeah, that's sad.
His wife divorced him over this decision, and I think that even though he has a possible deal with was it Fox or CBS or
I think it's Fox Sports.
Fox Sports. He has that deal with Fox Sports, so he's going to come out okay.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he has to work on where his head is at in terms of he needs to learn to put family over need.
Yeah.
He didn't need this past year. He didn't need it. He might have not been ready to admit it, but he didn't, maybe he wasn't ready to be a family guy. And he could have admitted that to his wife. And they could have worked through it instead of running off to do another season. So who knows? But anyway, so
Yeah.
Tom Brady's retiring again. We won't see him again, but we'll get to see him probably in a Super Bowl commercial or commenting on something. So
Yeah.
there's that. I would say, oh, what's next? Let's go with there's been a lot. Speaking of football, how many people remember the movie Remember the Titans?
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, I mean, the wholesomeness, the team overcoming racism, acceptance, the guys coming together, clicking as a team to have a championship season, the Black football coach played by Denzel Washington with his white counterpart as his assistant, and they both facing off demons and everything to provide a championship season for that hometown. It's kind of sad that Gregory Allen Howard, who wrote Remembering the Titans, died this week. And I think it's kind of sad that Hollywood lost another great, but he was a wonderful writer. He was also known as a producer as well. But I think this is his most memorable work whenever I see it on TV, because I think it's such a wholesome family film that tackles not only football life and the thinking of a football player, but also how culture and the environment affect how a player in the playing process, and how you can overcome those influences to be the person that you want to be and make lasting friendships. I especially remember in the movie the Black football player who became friends with the white guy who became paralyzed,
Mm-hmm.
and how his mother first objected and she came to love that Black football player, because I cannot remember the character's name. But I
Right.
remember that the funeral scene at the end of the movie, he's right there with the mother holding her hand, and she's hugging up on him because I think he became the other son for her. And I think that's the testament of Remembering the Titans, of what life can be if you overcome certain issues and just get past what you know and what you believe for something greater, for the greater good, and you'll be a better person for it.
Right.
So I love that film. I love it. You know
Yeah.
what? Now I'm going to have to go find it and look at it. I
Oh
really,
yeah, definitely.
it's a good.
And
Also, on top of that is Denzel Washington. What can I
oh
say?
yeah, of course.
Anyway,
And it is sad that we lost another Black screenwriter, because you usually don't hear a lot of Black screenwriters.
no.
I mean, right now, probably the most notable Black screenwriter is probably Jordan Peele. But besides that, you can't really name a lot off the top of your head. So it's sad, and he will definitely be missed.
It's sad. I mean, so many of them are working behind the scenes, on the different TV shows, but you never know who's writing what you're watching.
Yeah,
And they have such incredible talent. But it's just kind of sad when we lose one. But at least he's leaving a wonderful legacy that we can
exactly.
still enjoy.
Yep.
Speaking of entertainment, I would say, which one do I want to go with next? Well, first off, I'll talk about Beyonce,
Oh yes.
because I'm sure everyone loves her album cover,
Yes.
or the
It's a
men do.
very interesting album cover.
It's definitely it's a good album. I'm not a huge fan of Beyonce, and when I say this, is it's even though I'm not a big fan, but I like certain albums that she has done, like Lemonade, like Renaissance,
Oh yeah.
when she did Dreamgirls, and a couple of other single hits that I've enjoyed.
Right.
She knows how to set a trend. She knows how to take either what's old or what's new and make it relevant again. And she's very much in making sure that the Black culture moves forward and support HBCUs. Thank you. And I think from that alone, despite whatever issue she has, with fans or with her husband or with the children, whatever, I think as an artist, she's done very well for herself.
Yeah, she's great.
She's great. I don't know if I'll buy a ticket to her concert, but I bought her album, and I have that on my phone. So,
Right.
I'm happy about that. But also, speaking of music, the Grammys, I believe, are coming on this Sunday,
Yep, on
and
CBS.
on CBS. And Trevor Noah, who just left the Daily Show, will be hosting the Grammys this year. And it's going to be interesting to see what he says, what he does. I wish he would get a haircut, but that's just me. But I mean, he looks good in a tuxedo. So we'll see what he does and how he's going to be wild and crazy. And also on top of that, not only is he going to be on the Grammys, he is getting ready to start his world tour to get back on the comedy circuit.
Okay.
So I would say check out his website and look for dates. I already looked. He's not coming to Cincinnati, but he's coming around Cincinnati.
Right.
So I would say look for where he's hitting some of the bigger cities. And I know he's going to be in Louisville. I know he's going to be in Chicago. He's going to Indianapolis. I don't know if he's coming to Cincy or not. Maybe he might add a date or two down the road. But the tour is going to start now this month, and it's going to last until the end of the year. And it'll both be in America and overseas. He's going to South Africa for several days. He's doing a stint in his hometown.
Right.
So I would say if you've never seen him, amongst his own people performing, then that might be an opportunity. If you're looking for a fabulous trip to do that. But overall, I've seen him in a concert setting where he makes people uncomfortable. He tells the truth.
Yeah.
But he makes people uncomfortable. And I remember the man sitting in front of me. I was high up in the nosebleed seats. And I remember this guy he just kept squirming. He wouldn't stop moving. And either his wife or girlfriend who was next to him finally turned to him and said, "Will you stop it?" And, the guy finally had to sit still. And I think when truth hits home, that makes you uncomfortable like that, you either need to accept it or get up and walk out.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Good comedy should make you a little uncomfortable because they're just telling the truth.
It is a sad day today in America because Tyre Nichols' family buried him today.
So sad.
It's sad that, but folks turned out in Memphis to attend his funeral. It was shown live or streamed live on several news shows. Al Sharpton spoke, Vice President Kamala Harris spoke, as well as a number of other community leaders. I didn't get a chance to see all of it. I did hear his mother speak, and she was fighting back the tears, poor thing. Yeah. But they called for reform. They called for reforming, not so much changing police departments, but changing the culture.
Right.
And we on the Cincinnati Herald website, we have run a number of articles that have showcased not only the brutal 3 minutes of the video that shows 3 minutes, 3 minutes of the beating. That whole video is actually 67 minutes.
I had no idea. Well, you know what? I can't bring myself to watch it, at least not right now.
It's very upsetting.
Someday I will. But
I was watching it in my kitchen, and I literally had to stop, and I was pacing back and forth, and it was very upsetting on so many levels. And I think what has come out of this video, they said it was bad. It was Rodney King-esque, but worse, which it was. But I think also what was sad is that from the moment they pulled him over to the end of the whole scenario, they gave this man conflicting orders to do. They gave him 71 orders to do. And even when he tried to comply, he couldn't. Nothing that he did was good enough for them to comply. And I mean, you see stuff on the internet implying all other kinds of stuff, and I'm not going to get into it. But I think, the articles that we have on the website not only talk about the beating, we talk about police culture, we talk about the conflicting orders, but also we talk about, I don't think we put an article up yet about reform. And when we use that word reform, everyone's thinking, oh, defund this and do that. And no, it's not that. It's about I'll put it like this. The Cincinnati Police Department has come a long way from Timothy Thomas.
Right.
And they have grown a lot to be, I think, one of the better police departments in this country. But I think with what we see today, it's time for them to be a role model again and grow in a much bigger and better direction than they've ever done before. And I think, this whole thing about Tyre Nichols, is sad to see a brother go down like that. What's worse is that it was 5 Black police officers. No, actually, it was 5 Black police officers doing the initial beating, but 2 more police officers have been removed from their position. And then also the EMTs who responded did not work fast enough to help him out. They were also let go of their position. I would just say that what I like the most is people have been protesting. Now, maybe not the national protests that we saw, but people were out protesting down in Memphis, and I know people were commenting here, and I think what has taken everybody aback that Black people can do what white officers do.
Yeah.
Worse. And I would be more upset about this situation if people did not protest.
Yeah.
And I think now is the time that everyone is not only shocked by what these officers did, but I think now people know that we're not just protesting a white officer. More white officers may do it, but when we see bad, we're going to protest bad. When we call it out, we call it out. Now, not to label every white officer and every Black officer. I know some wonderful police officers who do their job, love their community, and want the best for it. I mean, I work with some every single day. Some of our neighborhood, a lot of our neighborhood liaison police officers I work with in the neighborhoods are fantastic.
Right.
They care about what they're doing, who they are serving. A number of other police officers are the same way. It's just sad that when you get a few bad apples who were not called out by their fellow police officers on their behavior. And that's what I mean. Like everyone needs to grow to the next evolution. And I think CPD has done it to an extent where, people have used bad language or they've done this and they've done that. We've seen that. But I think also they need to not be afraid to speak out when bad is done. Because as I've said to an organization, we hold you to a higher standard for a reason.
Yeah, you're a public servant.
You're a public servant. And we hold our leaders to a higher standard as well, because you serve us, and we need you to serve us in the best way possible. Now, not everyone's going to have a good day. Not everyone's going to do it to the best of their ability. We're not asking for perfection. All we're asking for is that when you see bad, you speak about it. But also the officials who lead these men and women in our blue uniforms speak up, speak out, and make sure something happens. Don't cover it up, because you know what happens in the dark eventually comes to light, and it does happen that way. So I would just say that everyone needs to look at their own police departments, see what's good about it, see what's bad about it, and see how they can evolve to be better than what they are right now. And that's pretty much all of the chocolate news. Oh, except one more thing. It's going to be interesting to see what the mayor and city council leaders and community leaders are holding a press conference tomorrow on February 2nd at 10 a.m. To talk about new gun safety measures. One, prohibiting people who have been convicted of domestic violence from legally possessing a firearm. And then second, safe gun storage laws and how it will be implemented. So it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to happen and how they're going to pursue this. Obviously, this has been a long time coming, and it's the next step. We need to keep the city safe. We need everyone to do their part. And I know Ohio is a open carry state, but everyone needs to be responsible when they're carrying a gun on them. And I advise everyone, go get a permit, take the safety classes, learn how to use that weapon properly, just like how we use a car. We learn how to drive a car because that can be a weapon as well. You need to continue to get safety classes on how to operate a gun. And I think everyone can live in a better world. People might say I'm naive, but you know what? I'm hopeful. And that is all the chocolate news for today.
Okay, thanks, Andrea. Oh, and tomorrow, February 2nd, is Groundhog Day. So we'll see if I can't remember the groundhog's name, but we'll see if he sees his shadow. Hopefully he
Oh, is that
doesn't.
what is his name? Punxsutawney Phil?
Yeah, Phil. Yeah, that's his name. So we'll see if he sees his shadow or not. I hope he doesn't, because I want spring to arrive early. But knowing Phil,
Well,
he'll probably see his shadow. So
you know what? I'm hopeful. The way this weather's been going, I'm hopeful. So, we'll see what happens tomorrow. I'll keep my fingers crossed. And, hopefully we'll have a good Groundhog Day. Yes.
yep. Yep. All right. Well, that's it for today's show, and I want to thank Andrea for coming on and telling us about the chocolate news.
Thank you. You're welcome. I'm very, very pleased to be here.
And you can find more information about today's topics and past podcast episodes at www.thecincinnatiherald.com, the Sesh newsletter, or on our social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app. Our podcast is on Apple, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Amazon, YouTube, and Google Podcasts. In addition, the Cincinnati Herald is now looking for news distribution and delivery agents. Please contact our publisher, Walter White, at 513-680-7076 for more information. I'm John Alexander Reese.
And I'm Andria Carter.
And have a good day.